UFC 242 coming off of UFC China, Shenzhen, however you want to say it. We got no Contender Series live fight companion tonight. What a shame, but we do not have one. Contender Series is done for the year. Shout out to the Contender Series for a great, what I think was 8th season or so. How many seasons they in? 4 seasons? Oh, maybe I'm trying too hard now. But either way, great season. We got PFL coming up October 17th, I think, is the first round of the playoffs. I think the 24th or 31st or so is the finals. Shout out to PFL coming up. When PFL does come up, we will be moving from a Tuesday night to a Thursday night. Greg, I haven't seen you since you said fucking Anthony Pettis was going to fuck Nate Diaz up. What's up, guy? What's up? What did I tell you about my boy Diaz? What did I tell you? Dustin brutally one shot to Khabib. I don't think so, man. I've been waiting for you from video after video after video, waiting for Greg to show up. I've been wanting to say something about my boy Diaz. I've been trying to brag about Diaz to anybody. You even told me no one saw Nate. I see Nate doing that. What are you talking about? You told me Nate was going to get knocked out first round sparked. Guaranteed you he wasn't going to do that. Anthony Pettis is a quitter, son. Quitter. He didn't want none of that Nate Diaz shit. Feel me? Anyway, now I got excited for Nate Diaz. I don't think Dustin Poirier one-shot to Khabib. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to go completely the opposite way. We thought the same thing was going to happen for Conor McGregor. I think Conor McGregor's a lot better of a striker, especially matched up against the Sambo style than a traditional boxer who leans forward when they throw strikes, such as Dustin Poirier. We'll get to that in a minute. My lips all fucked up. I don't know if you guys can see it. I got teeth removed on the top and the bottom, so my mouth is all fucked up, so you got to excuse me if I'm not speaking correctly. What do you say? Pettis has always been high caliber than Nate. You know that fight was surprising. No, sir. I will never, ever, ever say that in my entire life. You know why? Because it's not true, and I just can't get with that. Anthony Pettis has fought higher caliber people his entire career because he's always been a big name coming from the WEC, the kick off the cage. He's always been looked at a higher standpoint than Nate Diaz because Nate Diaz didn't come to be like a big star until the Conor McGregor shit, until the Michael Johnson fight or whatever, until he called out Conor McGregor. He never was looked at as a big star. But Nate Diaz, to me, fighting skill-wise, has always had the exact type of skill set that would break Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis does not do good under pressure. Anthony Pettis gives up if you keep good pressure on him in the later rounds, the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Completely gives up, stops his offense, and completely moves the defense. Happened in the Poirier fight, happened in the Nate Diaz fight. He quits, man. He literally, when he sees himself losing a fight, he quits. He plays defense for the rest of the fight. So, no, man, I would never say that he's a higher caliber than Nate Diaz. I never thought that, and that's why I gave it to Nate Diaz. I said it might have been a close fight because Anthony Pettis was at welterweight. Maybe he was a different fighter than at lightweight, but he's not. He's the same exact fighter. He's got a little bit more power, which is what put out Stephen Thompson. He's got more power, flashy strikes, shit like that. It does not phase Nate Diaz. If you can't put Nate Diaz out, he's going to fuck you up the whole damn fight until he puts you out. That's how it goes. Nate Diaz is a bad motherfucker, man. Bad motherfucker, yeah. I was so hyped watching him fuck Pettis up, man. So hyped. And I hear where you're coming from because I completely understood what you were saying by he's a higher caliber than Nate. It's because that's how he's looked at, man. When he ran off the cage and shit and he came straight into the UFC, they fed him. Benson Henderson, Cerrone, they fed him all these great fighters because they were like, dude, you're a beast. You know, they didn't do that with Nate. They gave Nate the Ultimate Fighter. Then they came off of that. They gave him a couple fucking this and that. They gave him Michael Johnson however long into his fucking career. You know what I mean? They weren't throwing him at the time. They weren't throwing him Khabib, fucking Ferguson, McGregor. They weren't throwing him Edson Barbosa, shit like that. So I hear you, but still no. Nate is always, in my mind, been way higher of a caliber fighter than Anthony Pettis. And he proved just that. So I'm very proud of him Thompson gives Nate trouble if they fight. Yeah. I mean, what do you mean by trouble? He's not going to knock Nate out. Definitely he's not going to knock him out. He may hit him with some cool shit, karate style, but karate style is the same kind of style as Conor McGregor. So, I mean, look what happened with Conor McGregor. If Thompson fades out at the end of the fight and Nate's going to keep going on with that pressure, then Nate's going to be able to capitalize on that. But if Thompson's able to kind of just do his karate shit the whole fight, he may get a decision, you know. He's still going to get beat up in the process, but he may be able to get a self-decision. It's a different, you know what I'm saying? Nate don't got the power like Pettis does. So Nate's probably not going to knock Thompson out in the first round unless he's like gun shy now because he got knocked out by Pettis. So, but MMA math doesn't work, man. Even if Thompson beats Nate Diaz, that would just be showing you even more that MMA math doesn't work because Pettis beat Thompson, Diaz beat Pettis. So it really doesn't work like that, man. It's all about a stylistic matchup. And who's fighting who on that specific night, you know what I mean? Greg, I want to ask you, did you see the Chris Cyborg going to Bellator news? A lot of great fights for her over there. Julia Budd. I think they're going to give her the title shot immediately. She's going to come in and get, just like some of the other UFC people that go over to Bellator, she's going to get the title shot immediately. Poirier shocks the world. Do they give Conor the title shot next? I don't know. Anything can happen when it comes to Conor. I'm not going to make any predictions when it comes to Conor, what they're going to do. I'll make a prediction when he fights, but I won't make a prediction whether they're going to give him a fight or whether or not, because it's so unpredictable, man. Dana's got such a close relationship with him, and, you know, he's a money draw. So Dana's always going to think, you know, this guy, he's a draw. If we put him in a title fight, this and that, Dustin Poirier is not a draw, and he holds the title. Maybe Conor could beat him. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. But no, I think if he comes back at all, he's more than likely coming back to a trilogy fight with Nate Diaz. A rematch with Khabib would make more sense if Dustin beat him, because they're not like, Conor didn't take this long off, lost to Khabib. Now he's going to fight the guy that beat Khabib, you know what I mean? So I think that would make no sense. And I think it would make more sense for him to get a rematch with Khabib if Khabib lost. Masvidal schools Nate? No, I think Masvidal's got power. He fights like Nate, different style of fighting, more explosive fighting. But that just goes to see that, like, we just seen explosive power in Anthony Pettis get schooled by Nate. So I think that fight is like a gazillion times more harder to pick than the Anthony Pettis Nate Diaz fight. I had trouble picking that fight. Nate Diaz Floyd Masvidal is a fucking war, man. Just like a fight we're gonna get to in a couple minutes, Paul Felder and Edson Barboza. I think that Masvidal definitely hits harder than the Diaz brothers, 150%. 150%. You've never seen Diaz brother one punch knock out somebody. Just boom, one punch without putting on some combinations. You've seen him knock out Gray Maynard, you see him knock out what's his name, but they're all body shot, headshot. So much volume, and then he goes out. There's never any one bow floor. You know what I mean? That's Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal hit you one time, put you on the floor. You know, did it to Darren Till, did it to fucking Ben Askren. That's a flying knee that will probably knock out anybody. If Nate Diaz threw a fucking flying knee, he'll probably knock him out. But Nate Diaz doesn't throw flying knees. You know what I mean? So it's maybe Nate Diaz has more power than him. Maybe he's a stronger puncher because he actually is a very good boxer. And I don't think Jorge Masvidal has the boxing skills technique that Nate Diaz has. But on the same token, he's just not. He's never looked at as a power puncher. He doesn't use that in fights. He lasts so long because he doesn't use his power like that. You know. Co-main events: Paul Felder, Edson Barboza. I'm gonna start. You keep asking me questions. I'll stop doing these things and I'll answer all your questions or whatever. But I'm gonna start doing the predictions. The first fight, the main card, which by the way, prelims. The early prelims start at 10 a.m. for a pay-per-view card. That's weird. Prelims start at 12 p.m. and then the main card starts at 2 p.m. on a Saturday for a pay-per-view. So I don't know. These early cards are getting weirder and weirder, man. I know they're in Abu Dhabi, but still, you would think that they would work it out somehow to get it started at a later time. Whatever. The first card is the first fight of the main card is Maribek Tusamov Tasumov against Carlos Diego Ferreira. Tasumov's 27-5, 7-1 in the UFC. His only UFC loss was to Michel Pereira in 2014. He's got wins over Alan Patrick, Damir Hadzovac, Desmond Green. 24 out of his 27 wins are all finishes. He's only been knocked out and submitted one time each, to where Carlos Diego Ferreira is 15-2. So what's that? 17 fights compared to his 32. Way more fights for Tasumov there. 6-2 in the UFC is Ferreira. Only losses are Dustin Poirier, who's going to be fighting in the main event, and Beneil Dariush. He's got wins over Ramsey Najim, Jared Gordon, and Rastim Kabulov. 9 out of 15 of his wins are by finish. He's only been knocked out once. He's never been submitted. I think that comes to an end. 17-fight veteran does not overcome 32-fight veteran to me. Also, while Ferreira has fought Dustin Poirier, Beneil Dariush, and Tasumov has never really got up into that kind of into that realm, into that hierarchy of top fighters, I think he's on his way up. So I think he's going to have a good go at it. And I got in that fight, I got Mirabek Tusumov by a decision. Let's just say decision. 3-round fight is probably going to be a decision. I also think that if it were a longer fight, maybe that his cardio would outdo Ferreira, just because of what we've seen with Brazilian fighters and Russian fighters and shit like that as far as cardio. But, you know, we won't see that. It's 3-round fight. So they should both, 155, these guys should both be fresh, you know, both be fighting at their full potential in the 3rd round. Or at least 80%, you know. Second fight on the card is going to be Curtis Blades versus Shamil Kaburov. You got to excuse me, man. They're in Abu Dhabi, so they got a bunch of weird-sounding names, in my opinion. Blades is 11-2-1 with his no contest coming to a TKO win over Adam Milstead, which was overturned because he tested positive for marijuana. That's bullshit if you ask me, but it is what it is. Dude's got to do his time, serve his time, whatever the case is, you know. He's got both his UFC losses are to Francis Ngannou, which are his only losses in his career, period, are to Francis Ngannou. He's got wins over Alexei Oleinik, Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem, Justin Willis, which is his last fight back in March. Shamil is 20-4, 5-2 in the UFC. His only loss in the UFC are to Derek Lewis and Timothy Johnson in his UFC debut. He's got wins over Walt Harris, Chase Sherman, Andrei Arlovsky, and Marcin Tybura. In the last fight, we took a guy who did not fight, I'd say, like, more relevant opponents. He didn't fight the, we took Tusumov, who didn't fight the Dustin Poirier, the Beneil Dariush, not the top 15 opponents, but we took him because of his experience, even though he hadn't fought those guys yet. In this case, 24 fights versus 13 fights, not that far away, 9-fight difference total, but Blades has fought Overeem, Mark Hunt, Justin Willis, Oleinik, and Ngannou twice. He's been at the top of the heavyweight division for a long time, whereas Shamil has, Timothy Johnson, Derek Lewis, Walt Harris, Arlovsky, Marcin Tybura, Chase Sherman. If anything, he's been at the back half of the top 15. He's never really been top 10, top 5 fighting. So I got Curtis Blades, maybe by submission, knockout. He's definitely going to finish him 2nd or 3rd round, I think. Third fight, Islam Makhachev, Davy Ramos. Ramos, however you want to say it. Makhachev is 17-1, 6-1 in the UFC. His only loss is by knockout to Aldeno Martins in 2015. He's got wins over Leo Kuntz, Chris Wade in the PFL, Chris Wade, Nick Lentz, Gleason Tebow, Cajun Johnson, and Armand Tucson. Davy Ramos 10-2, 4-1 in the UFC. He lost his debut to Sergio Moraes 2012. He's got wins over Nick Hine, John Gunther, Austin Hubbard. It feels like every single one of these fights is like a guy that's fought top competition against a guy that hasn't really fought top competition yet, but they're at the same point in their career for some reason. You know, it's kind of weird. It's like maybe just because they lost those fights or because they won those fights or whatever, but they're still at the same point in their careers. It's a little weird. But that being said, Islam Makhachev on a little bit of a roll, only one loss total. Both of them have one loss in the UFC. Ramos has 2 losses. You know, I don't see Islam Makhachev losing that fight. He's got too much buildup coming to him. You know what I mean? He's got too much coming into the fight that I would say he's not gonna end up losing that. And that one, the David Ramos Islam Makhachev fight, I'm probably like out of these picks, probably like a 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 confident that he's gonna win that. Sure, it's legit sign with Royce Gracie. Yes, I'm the type of guy to get Royce to sign a shirt and wear that thing. Huh. Sir, I just want to give a shout out. I'm going to pause this. I want to give a shout out to Sir Nick UFC on Twitter, who's just giving his UFC collection away left and right. Fucking awesome. Such a great guy, dude. He's giving away action figures to kids, shirts to lifelong fans. It's great, man. It's a great thing that he's doing. And if anybody knows him, hit him up. I'm sure you share and like his shit on Twitter. You have a chance to go in there and win some pretty cool shit, pretty cool UFC shit. But moving on, I got Islam Makhachev in that fight. Moving on, co-main event: Paul Felder, Edson Barboza. One of the premier fights on this card, I think, is going to be the most exciting fight on this card. If it's not a back and forth fight with Khabib and Dustin Poirier, which it could be. It could be a struggle to get Dustin Poirier to the ground, and while they're standing up, he could be doing good with his boxing, you know. So it could be back and forth, but I don't think it will be. Where Barboza and Felder is going to be an all-out 3-round war. For a 3-round straight war, these guys are going to go crazy on each other. Kicks from Edson Barboza, nasty boxing from Paul Felder. It's going to be amazing. Barboza's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, so he needs a win right now. People are saying that he's on like a career killer run right now. 12 out of 20 of his wins are via knockout or TKO. He's got losses to Justin Gaethje, Kevin Lee, Khabib, Tony Ferguson, Michael Johnson, Donald Cerrone, Jamie Varner, and then wins over Paul Felder in 2015. So this is the rematch. Anthony Pettis, Gilbert Melendez, Beneil Dariush, and Dan Hooker. So he's never been able to like defeat the top competition. But I mean, if anybody knows Edson Barboza, he's got some insane knockouts. That wheel kick knockout to Terry Adam. And he's been at the top of the division for a hell of a long time. So I don't think anybody can say anything bad about Edson Barboza. But he is going up against a warrior. Paul Felder, 16-4, 10 knockouts out of his 16 wins, 6-3 since his loss to Barboza. He lost to Ross Pearson, which was a very close split decision loss. Francisco Trinaldo, which was a doctor stoppage, and Mike Perry, which was an all-out war we've seen that could have went either way also. That was recent, maybe last year sometime, I think, end of November time, maybe, sometime in there. It was their anniversary card in Colorado, so I knew it was somewhere close to November. He's got wins over James Vick, Charles Oliveira, Stevie Ray, Josh Berkman, Darren Cruikshank. Dude's been all over. He's fought all over. Their last fight went to a decision, which surprises me. I figure if Edson Barboza is going to win this fight, it would have been by knockout because they're going to be going to war, and he's got power in his kicks, crazy power. I'm not saying that he's got more power than Paul Felder because I don't know that. I have no idea. I've never been punched by either one of them, so I don't know which one of the guys has more power. But I would assume by the velocity of the kicks and shit like that, that Edson Barboza would have more power. It's just an assumption. I do got Paul Felder, though. I think he's going to come in there. He's going to make it a war. I think his boxing will overall outlast the kicks of Barbosa. He's going to be stinging leg kicks in there. He's going to be trying to keep Paul Feldner away. I think Paul Feldner is going to do a great job in this fight, getting close, dirty boxing, really using his strikes in close into the body, and he's going to slow Edson down. He's going to get him a little too close to where he can't really extend those leg kicks later in the fight, and I could see it also going back to a decision. I could see neither guy finishing this fight, but in this case, I think Paul Feldner is going to even the score 1-1. Which brings us to the main event: champ versus interim champ, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier. We know Khabib fought for. Let's see who he fought leading up to his title. He's 27-0. Leading up to his title reign, he beat Gleison Tibau, Thiago Tavares, Abel Trujillo, Pat Healy, Rafael dos Anjos, Daryl Horcher, Michael Johnson, which was directly before one of the fights right before his title reign, Edson Barbosa, which was his last fight before the title reign. And then he fought for a vacant title against Alan Quinta, who he beat by decision, even though Alan Quinta couldn't win the belt anyway. He came in, I think, 0.5, 0.6 pounds over the weight limit. So Alan Quinta had no chance to win the belt. Khabib won that belt by decision. He since has only defended the belt one time, which was back in October against Conor McGregor. We know what happened, the big brawl. He wins, jumps out the cage, attacks Dylan Dennis. His boys jump in. Speaking of his boy Zybura Tukhugov will be fighting on this card against Leon Murphy. And he actually jumped into that fight and struck Conor a couple times inside the cage after Khabib had jumped out of the cage. So he will be returning. I know Khabib said he didn't want to return until his teammates were eligible to return. It was great for him to hold his word on this. Dustin Poirier is the man with the interim champ, the man he's going to come back to fight. He's got amazing boxing. What I was telling Greg earlier is that, although it leaves him more susceptible for the takedowns with his leaning back karate style stance, from Conor McGregor, it leaves his legs more open for a single. But with Dustin Poirier, when he leans forward more, he's more leaning towards you. So I don't think Khabib's going to be working as much, shooting takedowns as far in the boxing. He doesn't want to catch any uppercuts or anything like that. He's going to try to throw something over top, get a couple of, I would say like flurries. They get some flurries in there. And then he's going to look to grab on and clinch on and get his trips down and shit like that, because Dustin Poirier with the boxing stance is going to be leaning forward more. As he's leaning forward more, he's more susceptible to get shoulders pulled in, grabbed, wrist control. When he gets in the clinch, he's going to still want to lean forward for dirty boxing and shit. So while he's leaning forward, makes him more susceptible to pull trips to the other side. As he's leaning in, he can drop down for a single. He's already leaning forward. He could fall forward. Khabib jumps around to his back. Now he has his back. There's a bunch of different positions that Khabib can get himself into with a boxing stance. But I switched my mind up, because as I was speaking it out, I realized that a boxer actually has a better chance of defending a takedown. Dustin Poirier has a good takedown defense than a karate guy. Karate guy is leaning back, has more of that single leg exposed. Khabib could shoot, he could clinch, he could do whatever he wants. Boxing is more lean forward. If you lean forward, somebody shoots you, but you could sprawl out and drop your chest weight down on top of him quicker. So it's hard. That fight's going to be a difficult one to choose. I think it has a chance that it could be a stand-up takedown war, and Khabib could be getting tagged while they're standing up, and then he takes him down and he beats him up for a little bit, and then maybe they don't get up. Maybe the second round comes and he gets tagged up, and then he takes him down again and holds him down for a little bit. I don't know how it's going to go. That's the only way I see it going. Whenever I could see like a competitive fight. Other than that, if Khabib's able to get in there and get his takedown at will and just maul him, I don't give his submissions off his back enough to say that he could beat Khabib like that. Tony Ferguson, different story. Tony Ferguson, if he gets taken down, there's no worries in Tony Ferguson's mind. Elbows off his back. Triangle choke's going to be thrown up like crazy. Khabib has amazing top pressure, but Tony Ferguson's back game is insane, completely insane. So it's going to be a hard one to judge. I'm just going to go with the grain. I think Tony Ferguson's going to be the only guy that beats Khabib, so I'm going to go Khabib by maybe 4th round submission or decision, maybe. But don't fear there, because we also have a pretty good card. Like I said, the Zybura fight's going to be on the undercard. Joanne Calderwood is going to be fighting Andrea Lee on that card. Bilal Muhammad's going to be fighting Takeshi Sato. Nordine Talib is going to be fighting Muslim Salakov. Dan Mange is going to be fighting Faraz Zaim. So it's pretty deep. It's decently deep. I want to look in a little bit and show everybody what we have coming up for the UFC. It takes time while I'm pulling this up to tell everybody I just got engaged. I did that yesterday. So thank you all for the congratulations ahead of time. I appreciate it. Let's see. We already talked about 242. Vancouver the week after. We're going to be in Tennessee for that. We'll be watching that in Tennessee. Donald Cerrone, Justin Gaethje, Glover Teixeira, Nikita Krylov, Todd Duffy making his return, Antonio Carlos Jr., Uriah Hall, Misha Serkinov, Jimmy Crute. That card is packed with talent. Miles John's going to be on that card. Marvin Vittori coming back on that card after his suspension. Chad Skelly on there. Louis Shimolko way down at the bottom. That one's deep. After that week after that, we go to Mexico City. Yair Rodriguez, Jeremy Stevens, Carlos Esparza, Alexa Grasso, Martin Bravo versus Steven Pearson. Brandon Moreno is back going against Askarov. Ciara Eubanks versus Betch Correia. Let's see. Sergio Pettis versus Tyson Nam. That's a great fight right there. Copenhagen, the return of Nicholas Dalby, I got to say. That shit should be the co-main, in my opinion. Jack Shore versus Nolene Fernandez. Lando Venata versus Mark DeCasey. Headlined by Jack Hermanson and Jared Cannonier. Garner Nelson and Thiago Alves. Nicholas Dalby going against Alex Oliveira. Ion Pudota versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. That's going to be a banger. We have a lot of great fights to look forward to in the UFC, which brings us to the next pay-per-view, 243, and where is that, in Melbourne? Yeah, Melbourne, Australia. Robert Whittaker, Israel Adesanya for the champ versus interim champ. Alan Quinta, Dan Hooker, Tai Tuivasa, Sergey Spivak, Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington. What? Jake Matthews, Rustem Akman, Diego Lima, Luke Jamunju, Nadia Kassim versus Ji Young Kim. Megan Anderson's going to be on there. Zaira Ferreira dos Santos. Let's see. Are there any more I'm looking forward to? Weidman versus Reyes. That's going to be a sick one, October 18th. And at the TD Garden in Boston, man. Reyes versus Weidman at light heavyweight. Weidman's light heavyweight debut. Zabit Magomed Shapirov versus Kelvin Qatar, who's a Boston native. Macy Barber versus Jillian Robinson. Whoo-wee! That's insane. That's an insane, 3-4 fight lineup. I don't even know how many fights I just named. That's how insane it is. Darren Stewart versus Deron Wynn. Insane, man. Then I go to New York City, Russia, Brazil, Washington, Vegas. I know I missed one on here. They take the San Francisco card away? Oh, dude, they thought it was going to be in San Francisco, but they took it away. They put it in Tampa. That's crazy. Joanna Jacek versus Michelle Waterson. Max Griffin, Alex Moreno, Cub Swanson versus Crone Gracie. Oh, my God, the Gracies are back. Ryan Spann, Devin Clark, Eric Anders, Joe Mirachat, Brock Weaver, making his UFC debut against Thomas Gifford. Miguel Beza versus Hector Aldana. Crazy fights, man. Crazy fights coming up. Regional scene, I've seen a couple of different things that are happening. Let me see if I could find them again. Let's see if NFC has anything coming up. NFC's got a strictly BJJ September 28th. NFC 121 will be October 12th in Atlanta. See any notable names on here. Jared Gooden. Everybody knows Jared Gooden. He'll be fighting for one of the sub-only things on NFC. Give a little shout out to Showcase MMA. We got a big announcement about where I'm going to be continuing my my MMA journalism at. It's coming up. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say anything now. But we are in talks right now of finalizing it, so that should be happening soon. What's this weekend? Midday. Decent chance there's a fight companion this weekend. Decent chance. I don't know about 100% chance, but there's a decent chance that there will be a fight companion this weekend. Always keep your eyes out on the YouTube channel. I know it was a short one, a 30-minute video this Tuesday. They won't be long. They're not going to be long if there's no fight companions. We won't have a fight companion until Thursday in October, the second week of October, for the PFL. So I'm going to have short videos from now on. Hopefully they're better to promote because they're shorter. People want to watch them. But hopefully we'll see you guys back, man, this weekend. Possibly, if not, next Tuesday we'll be going over the predictions for the Vancouver card, September 14th. Until next time, man, I know I've been doing this weird thing with my lip. I got fucking holes in my mouth. Sorry, guys. But until next time, Barbecue Pit out. See you later, dudes.